directions to soar upwards towards a light that for half his time he had missed in his current location. He grew pushing through the boundary of the soil, tasting sunlight in his cells for the first time. Over the time and far spanning the years of the lifespan of any man who had walked the earth, with its crown of curlicue leaves, the former shoot came to be known and recognized by its form, shape, strength, longevity, leading to be called in English oak and in Swedish ek, the king of the forest, who each and every specimen of his kind was once owned by the Swedish king. Its importance in early European culture is reflected in its Indo-European etymological roots, which survive into the Greek and Celtic languages, with the Indo-European base for oak, deru, having become the modern-day English tree. In the various Celtic languages, the oak is referred to as der, or similar variations of the word. In Ogham, an early form of Celtic writing, the oak is given the word door, which links both the Sanskrit word and Gaelic word for door. The strength of its timber providing not only the doors to houses, but also doorways to inner strength and inner spirituality. Door or there is also linked with the stag, an animal that Joseph Beuys saw as endowed with spiritual powers and insight, and kingship, which connects the oak and the oak king to the rights of Bealtaine. Indeed, the etymological druid derives from dru and vid, meaning knower of oak trees, or oak men, meaning with deru meaning also the truth, and druid meaning knower of the truth. As well as being a place in the world, the oak tree could also be the world. The world tree of Slavic and Baltic mythology was an oak. Some scholars suggest that the world tree is programmed into the human minds by evolutionary biology, human beings being primates and having lived in trees for around 60 million years. The idea of a vast tree as the entirety of the world is thus still implanted in our collective unconscious. The oak tree's majesty and noblesse inspired, and people came to notice and worship. It became a gathering place, a meeting place for a variety of religious, civil, and secular and social functions. According to the pseudo-history Laur Gavola Éireann, Book of Invasions, the sacred oak of early Ireland was that of Mugna, located near Dunmanog, South County Kildare. Sacred pagan associations of oaks survive Christianization and are reflected today in place names in the country. St. Bridget's monastic foundation was at Kilbarra, Church of the Oak, Kildare, and Cullum Killa favoured Dura Callach's Oak Grove, today known as the city of Derry or Londonderry. In these places, rituals were developed and associated. Rituals for which the oak was the main actor, the performer, the fetish, the tool, and the worshipped. These traces are still echoed even millennia after these traditions had once evolved. And today we are back here at the sacred and special place of the oak.
Ritual is the materialization of spiritual ideas and powers in physical symbols, icons, traces, gestures, and words. Ritual is the means by which the ancient druids brought the gods into the world of mortals and raised the awareness of mortals towards the divine. Take a deep breath and prepare your mind and heart. Drop the silver into the water and say, "The bounty of the deep." Light the flame of the candle and say, the rising of the light. Place a drop of water on your forehead, keeping your body relaxed, concentrating on the feel of the cold water on your skin. Let it focus your awareness, then focus your gaze on the flame. Let the form and light of the fire be the concentration of your mind. Take 3 deep breaths, holding the concentration of the feeling of the water and the light of the fire, and say, "Between fire and water I find balance." Now take up the cup and raise it in salute to the holy powers of the world, saying, "I drink to the holy powers of the world. I drink to the ancestors," and sip the drink.
The granite oak in Bulgaria is considered to be one of the oldest living oak trees in the world. In March 1982, samples from it proved that it was estimated that the tree was 1,637 years old, with an estimated germination date of 345 AD, but no exact birthday. In Kalmar County in Småland, it is home to the Kvil oak, which is over 1,000 years old, and first described in 1722 by Magnus Gabriel Crelius in Forsök till ett landskapsbeskrivning, essay in the description of a landscape. It was partially replaced after being cut in 2005 by somebody who said he wanted to free the tree. Sherwood Forest is home to the famous and award-winning Major Oak, which according to local folklore was Robin Hood's principal hideout. A tree scaled majestically by both Kevin Costner and Errol Flynn, which since Victorian times, its massive and weighty limbs have been supported by an elaborate system of scaffolding. This once majestic tree is now chained, fenced and bound. In the birthplace of Merlin the magician who attended the court of King Arthur in Wales, the magician is said to have made a prophecy regarding an old oak tree. "When Merlin's oak shall tumble down, then shall fall Carmarthen town." The oak itself is believed to have died in 1856, with it today archived in St. Peter's Civic Hall in Knott Square in the town square. However, to date the town still stands. Goethe's oak is a name given to a number of oak trees in Germany that are referred to in this way because they allegedly bear some sort of connection to the poet. Bartek is an ancient oak tree in Poland, which King Casimir III is known to have held court under. King Jan III Sobieski rested under the oak on his way back from the Battle of Vienna, and under this tree he reputedly hid a Turkish saber, an arquebus and a bottle of wine to commemorate his victory. The future King Charles II hid from his parliamentarian pursuers in 1650 during the English Civil War, and this tree has since been known as the Royal Oak, leading it to be commemorated as the third most popular pub name in the UK. The tree that owns itself, or Jackson Oak in Athens, Georgia, USA, is a white oak tree, which has legal ownership of itself and all land within 8 feet of its base. It was deeded the ownership of itself between 1820 and 1832 by a Mr. Jackson who had cherished childhood memories of the tree. Angel Oak in South Carolina is an oak tree on John's Island. Local folklore tells stories of ghosts of former slaves appearing as angels around the tree. Thor's oak was a sacred tree of the Germanic pagans and is located in an unclear location around what is known as the region of Hesse in Germany.
I drink to the land spirits, and drink.
To the ancient Greeks and Romans, the oak trees were thought to be inhabited by female spirits called dryads, deriving from the Greek dryas, which signifies oak, again coming from an Indo-European root deru, tree or wood. In the fourth branch of the Mabinogi, the magicians Gwydion and Math used the flowers of the oak with their bloom to conjure Lluddawedd, flower face, the fairest and most beautiful maiden anyone had ever seen, as a wife for Llywelyn Griffiths, who, when he is about to be killed by his wife's lover, he escapes in an eagle form into a magic oak tree. In Beccles in Suffolk, an oak tree standing in the park is said to be haunted by those once hanged there, including a woman in white, and that the devil can be summoned by walking around it 6 times. When an oak is falling, before it falls, it gives a kind of shriek or groan that may be heard a mile off, as if the oak itself were lamenting. A famous mistletoe-bearing oak in Derbyshire had the reputation of being semi-human as late as the 19th century. When its branches were severed, it screamed and bled and spoke with the voice of prophetic doom. Any London apothecary who bought the branches from this tree met with horrible misfortune.
I drink to the shining goddesses and gods, and take a 3rd sip.
Both Greeks and Romans associated the oak tree with their highest god, Zeus or Jupiter, the divinity of the sky who wielded thunder, lightning and rain. In Italy, every oak was consecrated to Jupiter. In Northern Europe, he was associated with Thor. The oak was his representative on earth and their link with the divine. Thunderstorms raged at the oak grove in Dodona more frequently than anywhere else in Europe, and the crashing thunder was mimicked in ritual through bronze gongs. In Celtic culture, the oak was closely associated with the Dagda, who is likened to the earth, and the aspects of physicality and corporeality, with food, sex, and crude, raw physical energy. In more recent times, perhaps, the rich ceremonial history of the oak was the reason that Georges Bataille and the members of Asafal chose to gather around a lightning-struck oak tree for their nights spent in ritualized meditation in the forest of Marley. The headless man of Asafal was echoed in the lightning decapitated oak, and in their rejoicing in the decapitation of Louis XVI. In The Golden Bough, Fraser writes, "An oak tree which has been struck by lightning is naturally regarded by the pagans as being charged with a double or triple portion of fire, for has he not seen the mighty flash enter the trunk with his own eyes?" When the Thompson Indians of British Columbia wished to set fire to the houses of their enemies, they shot at them arrows which were made from a tree that had been struck by lightning or had splinters of such wood attached to them. Vendish peasants of Saxony refused to burn in their stoves the wood of trees that had been struck by lightning. They say that with such fuel the house would be burnt down.
To all the beings, in all the worlds, in land, sea and sky, below and on high, I drink this cup of fellowship, and drink the rest of the cup. Pause in silence for a time, allowing the feelings that the rite produces to be well and truly felt. When you're ready, again place a drop of water on your forehead. Focus your gaze on the fire and say, "Between water and fire I find my balance." Extinguish the flame and say, The light rises in me. Take the silver from the water and say, the deep flows in me. This work is complete. The heavens shines above me. The deep flows below me. I stand amidst all realms and go forth with the blessings of all gods and spirits.
The badger can have the house back. So we're going to make our way down to the boats again and go to our next location.